Everyone, and welcome back to Vet Chats, where we help veterans share their awesome stories and make the veteran community a better place. I hope you'll stay tuned to hear how the new generation is continuing their service. Also, Vet Chats is now on Wreaths Across America Radio. We will be played Mondays at 9 p.m. and Saturdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. They have a ton of great veteran content that I know you'll appreciate. You can find them at Wreaths Across America Radio, their website, on the iHeart app, or the Odyssey app. And one last thing, the Veteran Workbook is available on Amazon. The best way to find it is if you click the link in my bio. Hello, everybody. I hope you all had a great weekend. I had a pretty good weekend. It was fair weekend here, so that was always fun. I got to hang out at the county Veterans Affairs tent and talk with some veterans locally, which was just great. I got to meet a female pilot. I got to help someone with their file for their VA claim. So yeah, it's always great interacting with people in person. I mean, I love doing the live chats, and this feels like we're talking in person, but there's just another element to that, to being in person. So let's get started. Tonight we have an awesome guest. His name is George Fuller, and he's the creator of Ruck and Run. And we're going to talk to him about, so he's still active duty in the Army, and he's been in since 1998. Yes, and he's about to transition to the reserve. So we're going to talk about that, and also how he's created Ruck and Run, what it is, and what he's about to do. So let's get him on. I see he's waiting. Go, guys. Let me grab my notes. All right.
Hello, how are you?
Hey, George. I'm doing all right. How was your weekend?
It was busy doing house cleaning, doing an open house for the real estate agent and stuff. But yeah, it's going good.
Oh, that's right. You're moving, right?
Absolutely.
Getting all ready. That's a lot of fun. So are you finding yourself and maybe your family too, you're getting rid of a lot of stuff, or?
Yeah, we've gotten rid of some stuff, and then we've also we donated it to Goodwill, and we're just like, enough's enough. We're gonna do a garage sale, but just got too busy.
Yes, yeah. A garage sale itself is a lot of work. Sometimes it's better
That's right.
just want to get rid of it, put it on the curb, and you have 4 kids, right?
Well, yes, we do.
Yeah, so that's a lot of stuff, I can imagine.
Well, they were a pretty big help this weekend. I mean, I had them mowing the lawn and shoveling gravel and putting mulch down, so I couldn't have done it without my family and friends helping me out. So.
Oh, that's wonderful. How old are your kids?
So anywhere between 7 and 16.
Oh, okay.
So,
That's some
we got
good
3
labor
boys
right
and a little
there.
girl. Yeah. Yeah.
That's wonderful. That is really cool. So thank you for joining me this evening. I'm
Yeah.
so excited to have you on and help share your story. So let's take it back to when you first joined the Army. How did you
It's
start?
a long time ago.
Yes, yes. And what was your kind of process, your thought process behind that decision?
Gosh, so my neighbor, he was in the military, he was in the Army, and he kind of talked me into it in some ways, but the other one was I didn't really know what I was doing. I got a 2-year degree at that time, was VOTech, so I was in building trades, and I was like, I'll be a carpenter, that's cool. And then I went to the recruiter and talked to them, and I just decided that active duty or active component was going to be right for me. So I joined right after high school.
And then you were off.
Yeah.
So did you find so in the Army, I know it's a little different. Were you able to pick a job?
Yes. So I picked multiple launch rocket systems crew member, which is a 13 mic series, or MOS, and that was just something I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool, because they showed me a cool video with the rock and roll music and shooting rockets off a vehicle, and it's like, I can do that. Cool. And I know you have lots of listeners out there, so I will preface this. If you're thinking about military, and those that have already joined, please pick something that you can translate into a civilian career, because field artillery, unless I was working for Lockheed Martin, I wasn't going to get anything in the civilian world for doing my job. It would be more like what translates from military to civilian, like leadership and teamwork. I'm talking like learn a trade, like welding or machining, and take that into your civilian world. That's all. Unsolicited advice, but there you go. I couldn't have done that with field artillery.
No, no, that's great advice. And it's interesting because you said you came from that trade school, like
Hmm.
in high school, and then you kind of
Yeah.
ended up doing something
Yeah.
else.
I could have went the engineer route, but construction and things like that. But I didn't put the two and two together. I didn't really think about it. But it was a good experience, and it led me down to from Fort Sill, Oklahoma, for 3 years. And I was able to go to Bible College in Springfield, Missouri. So I transitioned from active component to reserve, and went from field artillery to what was used to be called chaplain assistant. Now it's called religious affairs specialist. I still got to get used to it. And so yeah, I did that for a while and graduated with my bachelor's in 2006.
Okay, that's one of the jobs that the Navy had, and I always wanted to do that. I don't know why I thought that would
Yeah.
be a really cool job, maybe a little more calm. The ones that on the ship, they worked in the library, so it
Hmm.
just felt like they were just kind of maybe not hanging out all day, but
Yeah.
they had a lot more quiet and downtime, it seemed like.
Yeah, it's been a good career field. Um, Nothing wrong with field artillery or chaplain assistant, but there isn't a clear direct translation into something civilian. And we can talk later on if people want to argue with me about it, but I can't show up to HR and say I was a chaplain assistant. They're like, here you go, you can work over here and make this much money.
Mhm.
A lot of times that does not translate. So there I am doing another thing. So my career consists of a lot of broadening assignments. I was a SLC instructor, senior leader course, which is an E7 course. Following that with as a senior drill sergeant, and then my last, not current, but my previous job was in DC, and I worked there for 4 years, from 2016 to 2020, as the Wounded Warrior Liaison. So all the combat wounded that they got injured on the battlefield, they got taken to launch stool for their medical treatment, and then they were shipped home on the medical flight. And then I met them at the Air Force Base, and I got to work in a joint environment, and I was able to be the liaison between the two-star general out of DC and do the face-to-face with the combat wounded and the non-combat wounded both, and to make sure that they had their needs taken care of. I would distribute Army Emergency Relief Funds to them for a certain amount, and just to make sure that they would, maybe they needed family to come in, or just a lot of times when they get injured, somebody else is going to gather their stuff because they're on a medical flight. So maybe they got to buy some hoodies and some socks, so that money just helps them out during that battlefield to home front transition, and which translated later on into Ruck and Run. But it was a really good experience working in a joint environment, seeing things at that level. I was able to go to the inauguration in 2016 or 17, and yeah, it was a really good job there. So yeah.
Yes, I can imagine that was really impactful, especially to see these people who were injured, and you can't help but be touched by every single one of
Yeah.
them. Is there anybody that came back that really like made an impact on you?
I got to talk with a lot of pilots on purpose because at that time I was pursuing warrant officer route to become a pilot, a rotary pilot. It didn't work out that way, but I got to interact with a lot of them. But one of the Marines that I saw, and they have, just to preface this, they have what's called, or let me just put it this way, it's like a ICU on wheels. And so the patient's on there and they have machines hooked up to them so they can do certain things, bodily functions, breathing and other things. I'll let you fill in the blanks. one of the guys was a Marine. He was an E8, and I was like, "How you doing?" And just welcome home. I'm glad you're here. You know, we're gonna help you get taken care of. We can get you to Walter Reed, and so Walter Reed sends an ambulatory bus down, and so they come off the flight line. They go directly to the bus. Well, he was calling me brother, and I'm like, you know, who am I that you would call me brother? I felt extremely honored, and one of the things is that he had both of his legs blown off from an IED, and he was sitting upright, and these machines were helping him circulate blood and different things, and he's calling me brother. You know, it was kind of tough, you know, and yeah. So what was really cool about that camaraderie was his friends had his back, and and it wasn't just that they were there. It was they were there because they had shrapnel in their face and they had gunshot wounds, but they were there because that was their team member, and I'll never forget that. Never forget that. And he had this big red beard and a baseball cap on, so you know he was doing some stuff that I'm not aware of.
Yeah.
But because of the information that I have, I knew he was a E8 Marine, and man, if he's out there, I mean, that really touched me, and that position was such an honorable position. Zero mistakes could have been made, and representing the command out of the military district of Washington, making sure they got the information without breaking HIPAA, and just all that. For 4 years, I was able to do that, and it was, I mean, and like I said before, like not only the Army Emergency Relief Funds, but also that experience, the other ones, just interacting with service members from all walks of life really impacted how I function and the direction of Ruck and Run itself.
Yes, yeah, and that's a great experience, and I bet going into that you were kind of, you know, you had like an image of it, but you didn't know all the technicalities and how deep it would really get.
Right.
And I think before that you were a drill sergeant,
That's
correct?
right.
And how was that experience for you?
Well, I loved it. So back to when I joined in 1998, one of the drill sergeants was a Desert Storm veteran. He served in combat. And I remember two things when I met him. One of them, this guy will kill me. And the second thing is, if I survive, I want to be a drill sergeant like him. So it was that hardcore, like I've never, ever experienced it. The only thing that I knew going in the military was movies. And you know how we all joke about, you know, Hollywood and things like that with military, and that uniform's wrong and whatever else. But this guy, that was an impact. And I said, if anything I'm going to do, I'm going to earn that drill sergeant badge and hat. I'm going to serve as a drill sergeant. I'm going to make an impact. And man, it's such a great experience if anybody's thinking about doing it. But it does open up a lot of doors if you're able to do it. Most of the sergeant majors in the Army that I've run into have served as drill sergeants. So it's a great segue. You know, like, hey, where'd you do your trail time? You know, oh, Fort Sill. You know, and so that's a connection that other service members may not have if they haven't served as a drill sergeant or drill instructor, or the
Yes.
Air Force call it what, TI. You're right, TI or something. I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And maybe
yeah,
we call them
that's
RDCs,
right. Yeah.
drill instructors. Is that
Hmm.
Marines, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, we all got our own little name, but they all
Yeah.
mean the same thing. I don't know, some might be
Yeah.
a little meaner than others.
Yeah. And I just, my modus operandi is I'm not going to make somebody feel like garbage, and I never cussed at them. That's my personal convictions. And coming from a senior leader course instructor, E7 course, and then being a drill sergeant, it was a totally different um, way of thinking, because I didn't approach it as, you know, I had to show them anything, or as far as like prove myself. So I wanted to be that facilitator, but instructor. And so I would let other drill sergeants just lose their cool, or be the yelling drill sergeant that becomes white noise. And I would talk to him just like this. And my last cycle was 2016. And I said, look, I can treat you like men or middle schoolers. Just up to you. By the end of it, you're going to know that you're part of the family. And you better believe that drill sergeant over there gets on you. It's going to happen here too. But you're going to better believe that I'm going to defend you to other drill sergeants if you're doing the right thing. And then I only had to raise my voice when somebody was really far away, or when things got out of hand a little bit for people that were just not getting it. And I think that when you have, at least from my perspective, when you approach it that way, your yelling doesn't become white noise. It's better to use it when you can, because then they're like, oh yeah, you know what, this drill sergeant does mean business. That's just important, and in life as well. I mean, you approach things from different angles, and it's a role that we play, right? It's a role that we play on. When I put my campaign hat on, I am a drill sergeant, and when I'm at home, I'm not a drill sergeant to my kids, and that's very important, because I don't treat my children like they're in the military. First of all, I don't treat them like they're my trainees. I don't be a drill sergeant to them. But I will say this though. I think I fit the role as a drill sergeant before I became the drill sergeant, so it was easier for me to be a drill sergeant, if that makes sense. Just my personality, I guess.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, yeah, I like that. And it seems like you commanded a lot of respect, so you didn't need to have that loud voice. I'm thinking of that quote by, was it Teddy Roosevelt, where you can
Hmm.
still speak softly if you carry a big stick, and you had the hat,
That's
you
true.
you look the part, so you just like
Right.
command respect. You didn't need to prove it all, like you said.
And that's what it's all about. Once you lose your power base as a drill sergeant, you're done. I mean, if you're not running up in front of everybody, and you're falling behind, a trainee has to say, come on, drill sergeant, you could do it. Like, you're done. Like, you just might as well turn in your hat. One of the best things that I will tell you, though, I got many stories about being drill sergeant, but one of the best ones is I was standing out with a first sergeant and a sergeant major, and the trainees came out, one with a battle buddy, and they gave me the greeting of the day because I had the campaign hat on. They said, good afternoon, drill sergeant. And one, I loved it because I was standing with a sergeant major and a first sergeant. And two, that gave me like, what do you think you're doing? Not, saying good afternoon to the sergeant major. Who do you think I'm standing with? And the knife hand and all that. But it was so cool because I'm like, yeah, they don't know who I'm standing with. They think, maybe they're just other soldiers. I thought that was pretty impactful, um, probably more so for them. So, but I thought it was funny as well.
Yes, yeah, I think that's very telling. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. So so later on, so you've also gotten an autoimmune disease
Hmm.
while you're serving. And where did that happen at, or how did that happen?
So I was deployed in 2008 to 2009 in Al-Kindi, Iraq, and it's north of Mosul. And I was attached to the military transition teams, or what's called MIT teams. So me and a chaplain, we had 36 different teams that we provided support for, religious support, and they were at 17 different locations. But as we traveled like hitchhikers on logistical packages or log packs, C-130s, Black Hawk, Chinooks, whatever we could, we were hitchhikers the whole year. But when we were in Al-Kindi, I was told that's where Chemical Ali developed his chemical warfare, and he also did rocket production. So I kind of jokingly said like, maybe I'll grow another head on like Michael Scott, Halloween. Maybe I'll grow
Yeah.
another head on my shoulder or something. And yeah, so in 2015, because I was there in 2008, 2009, 2015 though, I was coming back from Memorial Day Ruck with my family, and I have a full beard and hair and everything, and I just started itching right here, and I looked in the sink and there was a whole bunch of hair there, and it just was very, very smooth right there. And in 4 months, I had um, splotches all over, like patches everywhere, and my skin treated my hair as splinters, and it was very, very painful. Trying to push the hairs out because they wouldn't fall out, and there's no follicles, or I'm not a doctor, so whatever, there was no roots. And my last cycle was 2016, like I was saying, and I still had eyebrows, but I had this one patch that was gone, so they probably thought like, when you trying to be trendy, like
Yeah.
cut a little section out of your eyebrow, but really wasn't. I still have eyebrows, but most people think that they're just really blonde. And if you notice across here, it's lighter. I also have, so that's alopecia, and then I shave it to look presentable because it's still splotchy, but it's also white. But across here and other areas like the back of my hands, military, you'll have really tan hands and, paler arms, I guess you can say, for me at least.
Yeah.
But it's the reverse. So my hands and areas of my skin, I have vitiligo, so I'm losing the pigment in my skin. You don't notice it as much on me. So those are the two things that I believe are service connected to my time in Iraq because of the chemicals. But not only that, but it wasn't only burn pits, but we lived with the Iraqi army, and they would dig out the side of a hill. And so they would drive their truck up to the top and dump it, and they'd just set it on fire, right? And it was like, I'm not going to be accusatory, but it was like, why is it the days that the smoke's coming to us that they decided to blaze that fire and then go up there and dump their black water, their sewage water on that fire? Like, it's just disgusting. But we were just living with this, this crazy ash and smell, and I don't know what it is. So I believe it's service connected, the alopecia and vitiligo, and I will be leaving active duty and including that into my VA claim. We'll see where it goes from there because, the span between 19 and 15, they're like, oh, well, maybe you weren't in Iraq when it happened or, whatever else. Like, well, there are untold numbers of things, and I'm not a doctor at all, but everybody is going to react differently to things. Like I can't smell sandalwood without having a headache, right? So that's different. You may love sandalwood. I don't. I don't like the pounding headache. It sounds like someone, or feels like someone hit me in the head with a sledgehammer. I'm done for the rest of the day. So it's my kryptonite. I gave my secrets out, but everybody deals with things different, and my body seemed to be different, treating that environment differently, and then it lasted until 15.
Yeah.
And that's not something that the VA's gonna be like, all right, we understand. And I don't know. Maybe I'm telling myself no before they tell me no. But that's just kind of a fear, I guess. They're gonna say, nah, you're good. Like, man, I got anthrax floating around in me. I mean, who else knows what's going on? Only God knows.
No, really. And it's totally normal to be like afraid of that rejection, especially when it's so real. I mean, you can look in the mirror and you see the effects of it every day. And have you looked at the PACT Act and seen if anything under there would kind of more connect you with it?
I need to be more familiar with it, but I do know about the burn pits, and I believe, does that also include vaccinations, like vaccine injuries for the PACT Act, or is that something else?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure on that. If anyone on
Because
the chat knows, comment, please.
yeah, because there is I've seen floating around in the same type of, you'll see burn pits, but you'll see vaccine injuries.
Yeah.
And I think it's coincidental that term, I started seeing it around the time of COVID. And just so I applied for a religious exemption and it never went through. And it was over a year and a half, I think, just never went through. I'm like, why, just tell me no if that's the case. And then the mandate changed, so I never got it. And I'm glad it didn't because I've done, with 2 autoimmune diseases, I have the blood work that shows that I have the antibodies to fight COVID, and I've had it 2-3 times already. So I don't like it. Nobody does, but I just didn't want the vaccine. It went against my personal religious beliefs.
Yeah. And what a mess all of that was. I mean, I think now that we're a little removed from it, we're
Right.
just looking back and being like, wow, that was crazy
You
what they
definitely,
were making.
yeah,
I'm a government
you definitely,
employee, so I was going through that, and I was pregnant, and I was trying to wait until after I was pregnant to get it, and yeah, it was a mess.
yeah, I'm not judging anybody on their personal beliefs. I'm just telling you mine, but you can definitely tell what pictures were taken in 2020 just by the masks. So
Yes, yes, you definitely can. Um, and so you're about to transition into the reserves,
mhm.
and especially being active duty, wearing that uniform for so long, and you're not completely taking it off, but your day-to-day life is going to change a lot. How are you mentally preparing for that?
What a question. So one step at a time, but we have a really good support network. My family and I do local church here and church in Republic, of Missouri, and that's just what we adhere to. So we have a good support network. Now, the people that we know in Republic, we've known since, at least I've known them since 2000 or 2001. My wife knew them a little bit longer than I have. We got married in 2002, and so we were members of the church down there. So that support network is there, but the people that I ruck march with and other things has been supportive. Now I lead Ruck Seville here in Charlottesville every Thursday night at 6, and I'll hand that over to a friend of mine that's been rucking with me for a while. He's a good leader, and then I'll head down to Missouri and pick that up there Thursdays at 6. And so that just getting together and like what we're doing now, I mean, to me, that the logo that we have is a fire pit. And when I was in Iraq after the mission, we would gather around a fire pit and talk about our family. When I left, my daughter was, I believe, 9 months old, and it was hard, and we talked about how the grass would feel on her bare feet. Like, I would give anything to mow a lawn right now. And so sitting around that fire pit, that's why I created Ruck and Run, for Honor Knows to Serve, building camaraderie and connecting the community. And that fire pit is it's significant, I mean, and it's right in front of the stage and people gather around it. Like what we're doing here, but through our phones. It's important to share commonalities, common ground. I mean, you've already done it. I mean, when I talk about religious affairs and you talk about RPs, and I talk about drill sergeant, and you talked about the Navy version. I mean, that's what we're doing. We're finding common ground automatically. We're not even thinking like, oh, how can I find common ground with this person? No, we already found common ground, and that's how we serve, and that's how we support each other. One of the things that there's lots of organizations out there that say, oh, we want to do suicide awareness. I'm like, why don't you do something that's tangible? Why don't you? I mean, I understand the awareness part. I think a lot of people know about the 22 a day, and I think that continues to go on, and I believe in that. But what's tangible? What can you tangibly do to pull somebody back from the ledge? And that's a whole broad stroke of the things that are going on in my mind about this transition from active to reserve, and the support network that we have, and what's it going to look like. And I want to do more meetings with people that are local, that are veterans, and it's going to be rough, because not only we have 4 kids, my dad lives with us because he had some health issues. So there's 7 of us. We have a fuller house, and so it's definitely going to have its challenges. Now, trying to sell a house here in Virginia, we're trying to buy a house in Missouri. Just so you know, if you get a VA compensation or VA eligibility letter for VA loan, it's based on the compensation level. I should have known that, but it's like, if you have this much, you're going to have this much. So if I go for a second VA loan, I can't get a VA loan for the house down there in Missouri unless I sell this one. And I'm trying to do a VA assumable loan, and ours is like 2.5%, which is a steal if anybody's looking. But if we can get the one in Missouri, if this one doesn't sell, we'll have to rent it, or I can do seller finance. And then down there in Missouri, I'd have to do a totally different contract, go through underwriting again, and do conventional. And while that's going on, I'm raising support through Ruck and Run, because for the first time ever, I'm going to be an employee of Ruck and Run, and it's never happened before. So we had a person that's anonymous pledge $50,000 of matching funds. Wow. Because they knew that I was transitioning from active to reserve. So then if I raise 50, that's going to be a year's worth of salary, and then it's doubled. So that's 2 years. And that's while I'm finishing my master's degree in Republic, Missouri, to become a chaplain. And I'll start a pastoral internship and then probably find some type of job on the side. I don't know what time I'll have, but I feel like I'm spreading myself pretty thin. Yeah. But it is what it is. And it's rough, because you asked about mentally, we had people from our church come by yesterday, and they were shoveling gravel in the wheelbarrows, and I was putting it around the yard, and I was up really late, and then our family got up really early, kept going, and I was done at 12:58, and the open house started at 1 p.m. Now,
Woo.
arguably, it could be time management skills, I'm sure, but it was a lot of work. My boys were out there mowing lawn stuff like I was mentioning earlier, but I mean, everybody was spent today, so spent. And so I got them some ice cream. We were watching Ernest Goes to Camp. So yeah, so just trying to, it is taxing, and that's what's amazing about it is my wife and children, they're very supportive of what I do in the military, and that makes a huge difference. Like they got my back, and they know how to pull their own weight.
Yes, and that's one of the biggest things that getting out that you need to identify or just realize is your support system, especially where you are. And like you said, you're going back to Missouri. Sounds like you already have that support system there. So
Absolutely.
that's incredible. But there's also so many of those challenges that come up that you didn't expect, and just like your VA home loan, and I'm sure you may run into some more. But last weekend we had someone from Columbia University, and she's talking about flexibility and how important that is for when you
Hmm.
transition out. So you'll also be in the reserves on top of going to school and running Ruck and Run, and yeah, that's a lot. So what does reserves look like for you? Is it a weekend,
Yeah.
a month?
So it's a 1 week in a month. But I am electing to go back to my drill sergeant unit. And then, so in the summertime, I'll have a section of time where usually reserve drill sergeants will go 3 weeks, at least from my experience. But I always elect to go, if possible, to go the full cycle. So that way I'm there when it's pickup day for civilians and then graduation day and then closing out the bays and stuff. So I like to have that 10 week at least. So 11 week to give me some buffer days on each time to in process, out process, and travel. So I have that 10 weeks of basic training. Um, that may not be always the case, but chaplain friend of mine said, "Look, I know you're doing your Master's of Divinity. I got 36 credit hours left of 75." He said, "Take your summers off. I know you want to slam it out and get all this stuff done, but take your summers off."
Mm.
And yeah, yeah. And I thought that was really good because the first thing I'm thinking is, no, 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 I got to get it done. Well, 36 credit hours divided by three, as far as my math is skills, is 12 credit hours per semester. So that's still a lot.
Yes, that is a lot.
Yeah. And then being gone as a drill sergeant in the summertime will take a lot of time away from what I do for Ruck and Run. And that's one of the things that kept it from being even earlier. I started it officially in July of 2015. It became a registered trademark soon after that. And but I had talked about it in 2013 because when I was or 14, I think. So as a drill sergeant, I was like, we should get together. We should ruck, and let's get together and do this sitting around a reserve center, and then let's bring some runners in, and let's bring civilians in. It became Ruck and Run for veterans, and then I cut off for veterans because it was like people were asking me, well, can civilians do it too? I was like, no, no, no,
Yes.
Ruck and Run for, but like we're doing it for you.
Yeah.
So that it was very confusing. So I redid the Facebook page to just Ruck and Run. It became a registered trademark, and which I've had to battle, which is fine. I'll do battle for that. Yeah, so it's been a good thing, and here's what it boils down to. I got sick and tired of seeing commercials that says, "Hey, come buy a mattress because it's Veterans Day." How about no? How
Mhm.
about we honor veterans? And so if I can help refocus what Veterans Day is all about, that's really good. And if I can bring that camaraderie in, like you and I, we went through what is equivalent of boot camp basic training. That camaraderie we have, and we've never met each other in person, and our branches are different, but we have that commonality because we have that. At that time, it was a set of time, common challenges, and if you could say the same enemy, which would be the drill sergeants, uh, and I'm fine with that. So when that builds that common ground, and through that common ground, we can relate, and so that's why it's so important through Ruck and Run. to just have that tangibility in honoring veterans. What'd you do this Veterans Day weekend? I went and bought a mattress. And fine, go buy a mattress. But just like Memorial Day, it's not about just barbecues and being on the lake. It's about, because people died in uniform, we can have the freedom to do this. And that's where we need to refocus even Veterans Day. Because veterans, we can celebrate them. So, yes. So then doing the event in a tangible way to bring people together, and they can have that camaraderie because they earned a finisher medal. Veterans can be around the fire pit, swapping stories about whatever branch or MOS and stuff. That's very, very meaningful to people. And this is the 9th year. So I'm pretty grateful. And so for 7 years I've been gone. So I think by God, I know this is the fact that by God's grace, He's allowed it to be this long. So now I get to work full time for Ruck and Run instead of doing it part time out of uniform. Wow. I think it's going to grow exponentially if God blesses that. I think that's the thing. So, and we have a great team, board of directors. They're veteran, military spouse, military family, retired. I mean, we have volunteers, like over 100 volunteers. I mean, it's a big thing. So if you're coming to Republic, Missouri for Veterans Day weekend, be sure to go by Ruck and Run, because it's not only a walk-run event, it's also a celebration of our veterans. And it's a free event to attend unless you're doing the walk-run event part. And it's just a big celebration, big fire pit. We got free pumpkin pancakes, free coffee, free axe throwing, music. I mean, military vehicles. It's the works. We have the Missouri State University Cannon team is coming out to set our race off, so it's going to be good.
Wow. So can I ask you a really basic question in case there's
Sure.
anyone out there unfamiliar with the term ruck?
I knew you were going with it. Yep, let's do it. Yeah. So, Ruck, I will tell you anecdotally, for the first year that I did until I was 15, people thought I was saying something else, of course, and they didn't. Some
Okay.
companies they didn't want to print my shirts, but a little bit of history. When I was in high school, I played rugby. So when I went in the military, in the Army, there's like, oh, we're going to ruck this and we're going to ruck. I'm like, are we playing rugby? Because that's what you do in rugby. But a ruck comes from rucksack, German word for backpack, which I've been told. And then, of course, in the military, we take acronyms and we turn words from acronyms. We turn acronyms into words. So we turned ruck into a noun and a verb. So we ruck as a verb. So that is to walk with a weighted vest, backpack, or rucksack. And so that's why it's a walk-run event. So we walk and run. But don't be confused, anybody listening. It's not, you don't ruck and run. It's when you register, you ruck or run. The name it wouldn't ring true if I was to say, come to Ruck or
Yeah.
Run, right? It's
Yeah.
Ruck and Run, like Guns N' Roses, So, or rock and roll, so Ruck and Run, we choose the ruckers are going to ruck with a rucksack, backpack, weighted vest. I tell them to throw canned goods in there so that we have this big area with a camel net where we pile up all the food and we donate to local veterans, which lasts them 6 months worth for the homeless veterans that are in town. Or you could run, which means you're not going to have a rucksack, backpack, or weighted vest. However, here's the little bit of it. If you're rucking and you kind of pick up the pace like a shuffle, no one's going to stop you. Just the same as if you're running and you slow down, no one's going to stop you. So just come out and have fun. Along the route, there's stations. There's drill sergeants out there yelling at you. Motivating you and knife handing you to do your push-ups and sit-ups or push-ups and jumping jacks, bodyweight squats, burpees, mountain climbers. I save burpees for last. You earn the finisher medal when you come by. When you earn your finisher medal, you're part of the Legion, Ruck and Run Legion. And it's just a fantastic time. Now, anybody that can't do the ruck or the run in Republic, Missouri, they can do it virtually. So we'll send them a shirt that's like this. This is 4th annual. This year's our 9th. And we'll send you a shirt, finisher medal, cinch bag, net gaiter, wristband, all the swag you can think of. And it is our biggest fundraiser, but it's also our biggest expense. So we don't have one of the galas in a dinner. We don't have that fancy stuff, but we do have an after party, so that's good. Yeah, so anybody out there, we've had people do it in Kuwait. We've had people do it in uh, in Reno, California, here in Virginia, Pennsylvania. I mean, all over Florida. There, people do it virtually, or they'll even buy a ticket and come out to the Republic of Missouri. It's right outside of
Wow,
Springfield, so
that's
we
so
have
cool.
Fort Leonard Wood people coming down from the Army. We have Whiteman Air Force Base airmen coming down. We have the Missouri State University ROTC, Mizzou ROTC. We have high school JROTC coming out, and we have local recruiters coming out. I mean, VFWs, American Legion, everybody comes together and they just descend upon the Republic, and it's a good time.
That is really, really cool to see everyone come together for such a great cause.
Absolutely.
And on top of your annual event, do you do monthly events, right?
That's right. So we do, I like to say we do monthly missions and annual events. So every month we do missions. They're tailored towards what's going on. So for example, April is the month of the military child. We have a challenge coin that you can earn each month. So this one specifically is called Military Kids, and you can get a shirt that's similar to this, but it's a turquoise blue with purple ink. And it says "I Ruck and Run for Military Kids." And so the 100% of proceeds of shirts and coins goes to our Military Kids Scholarship. We collect that through the year, especially in April, and then we present the the Military Kids Scholarship to one male, one female high school student that are military kids after they submit an essay that's selected. So it goes to back into the community, and that's very meaningful. But it's yeah, that's the monthly missions. It could also be Memorial Day. We have Warrior, which is in June. One of the most brutal, it is most brutal. It's called Operation Heat Stroke, and that's in August. And there's no other way to close out summertime than completing Operation Heat Stroke. It is a team-paced, scenario-based mission. It's the only one that we have that's team-paced. You have to start together, finish together. The other ones you can divide it up. Like let's say you have 12 miles, divide it up so you do 3 miles a week, and you take your reps divided by 4. You know that's how many reps you do per week. But it is specifically for different things. And the one that's in Warrior for June, I mean, is for PTSD awareness and also for wounded warriors. That's why the stuff that I did in uniform with the wounded warriors kind of lines up with what I do with Ruck and Run. So yeah, this month I put social media post on it. It's called Punkin' Ruckin'. So you gotta get the kids involved, get your costume on, and bring a pumpkin with you, and do some exercises with it, and earn a coin. And so with
Oh,
those,
how cool.
yeah, with those proceeds, we use them in 3 different ways to be very transparent with everybody. So we have a fund called Honoring Those Who Served. That's for veterans and currently serving that running in difficulties or things like that. We've helped a veteran keep the lights on. We've helped a service member that lost their child due to illness, and just different things like that. We help out veterans and currently serving through our earmarked fund called Honoring Those Who Served. Now for the families of the fallen, we have a fund called Honoring Those Who, or sorry, In Their Honor. So In Their Honor helps out the families of the fallen, and then our third is the Military Kids Scholarship. So we're doing patterns of 3. So our pillars are honoring those who serve, building camaraderie, and connecting the community.
That is awesome, George.
I
You are
appreciate that.
doing great work. And I feel
Thank you.
like, it's your ninth year,
Yes.
but there's so much more to come, and this is just gonna grow and get bigger and bigger. That
Yeah.
is so cool. So where's the best place that people can sign up or where they can find out more?
Yes. So ruckandrun.org, rucknrun.org. And I love this term, but in the left-hand corner up at the top, there's the hamburger, those 3 lines. I love calling it the hamburger. Just click that and you'll see our events, our store. You can sign up for the annual event through the store. And it's our 9th annual, so you're going to get a brown shirt with orange ink, and the finisher medal is similar to that, and all the swag. And you can do it. Again, you can do it in Republic, Missouri, or virtually. We also have camping if you want to come out and camp by the fire pit with us. It's totally free. Yeah, so you can do that, ruckandrun.org. If you go to .com, you'll be fine. It'll redirect. And yeah, that's where it is.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us on Vet Chats tonight. I want to thank everyone who joined the chat, or if you're listening to the replay or on the radio. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you go check out George, especially if you're in the Missouri area. Be sure to check that out. George, thank you again. I really appreciate you being here.
It's been an honor. Thank you so much. And you guys show your support to Jenna.
Thank you so much. I hope you have a great week.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.